here in studio, we get to look at the future leaders and answer the question, has Uganda actually prepared itself for its future leaders? Backbone of it is that for decades, Ugandan leaders have actually spoken about the future generation taking over leadership. That future seems to be arriving as of 2026 general elections, but perhaps even faster than we had anticipated and expected. So we have certain questions that we want to ponder on in our discussion this morning. One, has Uganda really and genuinely grounded itself and groomed its young leaders, or the young people for them to take on the opportunities that are at hand, especially in elective politics and in shaping the democracy that we want to see for the future of our country? Or is it just a way of forcing them into the space so that they can be political inclusion, quote unquote? And then we also want to understand what are the current existing structural gaps in terms of financing, in terms of mentorship, in terms of institutional trust that could be facilitating the difficultness of this transition. And this is a two-way, the transition itself and the appreciation for the transition. And so that's where things are standing right now. So tonight we want to assess whether Uganda is witnessing a genuine handover of leadership or merely a repackaging of old power structures. Joining me in studio, I do have one that is a former youth member of parliament. I don't know if we call him Jaja today or Koja. But he is Member of Parliament elect in Toroko County, Edson Rugumayo. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We've just come back from the trenches, I prefer to call them. Good morning, our viewers. Congratulations to His Excellency, the President of Uganda. Congratulations to all the winners. For those who didn't make it this time, I think 2031 is just a stone throw away.
Okay.
It's a big pleasure to go through the steps, as you say, transitioning to come from the youth politics to go to now the mainstream politics. It's really very interesting.
Okay.
Anyone who goes through the steps.
And we're going to analyze how interesting it is looking from you who's a lived experience. But we also have one who has lived through the experiences of the recently concluded election seated before us, and that is Deborah Owekisa, who's a former candidate for Western Youth Member of Parliament and also a member of the National Unity Platform. She's an organizer, a political mobilizer, and youth engagement is her strength. You're most welcome.
Thank you so much.
How are you?
I'm very fine.
What was the journey like for you?
It was interesting. You're learning, you're discovering, you are actually seeing what you didn't expect, but then you are living the experience and you want to see, much as you are not in the office, you want to better, you want to see it in a better place. So you will not be down because you didn't go through. You're going to do everything possible for the young people to thrive, to be inclusive. And maybe some people up there don't know some things are actually happening. From this they can discover, they understand. And maybe there could be a revival.
It could be a revival.
Yeah.
You have said seeing what you didn't expect. Please break down that for us, because I know that the Western Youth MP race was quite a very hotly contested race. First of all, there was change of venue by the Electoral Commission from one venue to the other venue, which did not settle well with many of the candidates and also the voters and the colleges. And so that was one of those issues that were with the Western region when it came to youth MP vote. What other things did you see and did not expect to see?
This time where we see the institutions that we don't expect to be partisan are a point where we see, instead of ideas moving through the young people, these people are young, they are the future tomorrow, but instead there is a lot of monetization. A lot, more than you could imagine. And until you are involved in such an election, you can never realize how it made me question, is this position actually for the youths? Because if I'm a youth, I don't have $1 million to pay for a voter because I'm young. I haven't made it that much. And must I pay for the vote? And then also there is the military. It is not coming in to help us go through a smooth election. 300 people on one single place, it is something to... Those people are scared. They can't even express what they want.
All right. Thank you so much, Deborah. Edson, you are one that has gone through these structures right from the most ground of them, the councils, into the youth MP, and now into the mainstream politics, as you have referred to it. And you are in the best position to help us draw the interlinkages and what the issues have been over your course of leadership as a youth, especially in line of the fact that she has mentioned something that you and I have had a discussion about here in Morning at NTV, monetization of our politics, especially at a level where you should think this is the cleanest opportunity of politics to be levered. This is the window of opportunity where politics should be going back to the quote-unquote grassroots, but also something else that emerged through our elections generally across the bar, militarization.
Yes, thank you so much. I've been part and parcel of the process of the youth politics since 2015, when I participated in the councils all through, then went to Parliament on the youth ticket in 2021. The issues that Deborah raises, of course, are very present in the election process. When you talk about monetization, to a large extent, the youth election is purely electoral college, so it usually depends on a one-to-one relationship with a voter. But also to imagine that it is entirely decided on money is not correct. Two, politics world over, I must say, is run on fuel, and the fuel is money. Now, the only way to get that money is you must have strong ideas. It is the ideas that attract money. If you run a campaign that is really based on issues, those issues help you bring on table many stakeholders who clearly understand that you as a young person do not have large sources of income, so they are there to stand in with you and support you all through the journey. Otherwise, if it was just about who has deeper pockets, some of us wouldn't have made it through. I come from Ntoroko district. My father and mother are not among the notables. And yet, for all the political processes I've gone through, let's say, the youth campaigns, it has always been the issues first. You put forward the issues, and the issues attract the resources. They attract the resources, they attract the voters to you, and you come through to win. Two, on the issue of militarization, you will recall in 2015, of course, there was a lot of violence, especially in the Western youth election. So that election has always been treated with a lot of vigilance, and that is why you may not see the military being there purposely to campaign, pull voters in there, but they are there to make sure that the process is peaceful and all through. However, on the part of militarizing the election country over, I must say we continuously shape our institutions. And even as we speak now, we are shaping our national institutions. Why we see a lot of military intervention and participation in this politics, it is because of what kind of politics we have shaped, both the government side and the opposition side. Of course, this election passed with a lot of violence. I saw some pockets of violence on TV, and I really condemn the violence in any way. As a country of largely young people, and as a country that is fighting to get into those civilized nations, we should not allow violence amidst us. It is barbaric. However, you also need to investigate what is the root cause of this. If you remember very well, just prior to the elections getting so heated, you would see some people in the opposition freely standing in front of parades, drilling, and all that kind of militant politics. Between me and you and all the viewers that are out there, we shape the institutions of the state. If we give the state an opportunity to deal with the issue of violence, they concentrate on violence. If we make an election an issue-based election, we shape a responsive state. So what have we been doing? What we do most of the times, our opposition players, counterparts, focus much on building militant politics, and of which this state that we have today in Uganda is not a weak state. That is what President Museveni came flagging and said, no, we have the biggest problem of Africa is weak states. Today in Uganda, we don't have a weak state. So you don't think you can come with militant politics and survive. Definitely there will be a solution for you, and the solution will not be any other thing apart from military action. So generally, I would urge that this time, after this election, especially our counterparts in the opposition, take time to think deeply and shape their politics towards issue-based. That way we shall shape a country, a government, a state that is responsive to issues, not to... I recall one of those days, 2016, I was privy to one of a very high-level meeting. I remember the president walked in, and that was at the beginning of the issues in Kasese. And he said, I will find a solution for Kasese. That was 2016. You will recall later in 2018, there was action taken in Kasese, and it was military action. But that is after being patient for 2 years, when there were police officers assaulted, murdered, UPDF officers being killed. It took patience of the state for 2 years to get an action on that. So what does that mean? It means that every time we are here, we players, the fourth estate, the politicians, the opposition, every time we are behaving, we are shaping the state to behave the way...
Speaking of shaping, Deborah, we have to be realistic. One of the things that are shaping our reality today is the fact that demography-wise, things have changed. Ubo's report does show that now young people mark up to 70%. That's below the age of 35. And then between 18 and 35, you do have up to 50%. So that is something that we have to be realistic of, that tides are changing as far as demography is concerned, which affects then the nature and the caliber of leadership that we're seeing. That being said, has Uganda actually had a grooming process for the young people to emerge into leadership positions as high as political leadership?
I would say no, and I'm going to use the National Youth Council as an example. We have those young leaders, my delegates. That's a chairperson and finance, and also the female. I got interested so much in what are they doing. And then I'll use a case scenario of Chiruhura where they said, we receive a budget of this much. And then I ask, what does that money do? It's even little for us, the leaders, to have a meeting because we come from way deep.
How much money are we talking?
The figure was around between 800,000 to 1 million.
Okay.
And then they're like, it's not even enough for us to have one single meeting. And my question is, as leaders, are you the one to have that meeting? Because I expect the chairperson to mentor those. That's why you come from different sub-counties, to mentor those young people, to mentor those young females, and then the finance is supposed to try to finance. Why are you meeting as leaders? I expect you to be doing the work in your place, and that is not what is happening. And then I ask them, what are you supposed to be doing as leaders? That question was never answered, and it's because of finances. And then I ask them, most of them came in to blame Mr. Edison. I could not defend him there, because why not? I wanted a vote. But they actually expect him to work directly on them. So at the time of campaign, they don't even listen to the fact that he's going out there to look for them opportunities. They want that monetary thing on them because their offices actually don't support them. The National Youth Council has not effectively seen how effective are they as leaders in their respective places, because they kept saying, you know, we would like to vote you, but our day of work is ending on 28th. After 28th, we must, that's the last day of work. We are going to wait till the other election so that we go for those positions again if we are still in the same age range, and then we vote. So this is the political moment they love so much, because they are going to get money. They are going to ask you, we know you're not going to work for us, because they don't listen to the ideas. So the work for us is the direct money you will be giving them. So we know you will not come back to give us that money, so give it to us now. Wow. And I feel that is so, you are destroying a whole generation, because tomorrow these people are going to be old. We are going to be the ones there, the ministers, the presidents. How are we prepared to go and represent the rest of the world if this is what we are doing now? Those people are 22 years. They are very young, but that is what they've been introduced at that level.
That's the shaping of their political landscape and understanding of our politics as a country. And it doesn't help that at the bigger offices, that is how the game is being played. Edson, you are one who is an ambassador of ideas over the lived experiences, but yet you have lived through these experiences. How do we bridge the gaps that Deborah has mentioned to shape a better leadership and a better quality of our leadership for the future to come?
There is something we need to appreciate about Uganda. Uganda stands as a model country in East Africa in as far as mentorship and providing avenues for youth leadership is concerned. And many countries, in my tenure of youth politics, many countries have come here and benchmarked and picked programs, ideas, and have gone and implemented them and perfected them. The Youth Council, much as my sister talks about and says there might be defects there and gaps. I recall by 2015, when we assumed office, it was a white elephant, as was commonly called. By 2021, 2023, we had funded through lobbying at Parliament, we had funded that council up to 4 billion, providing just enough funds, enough for them to sit, organize, discuss, go out in the fields and encourage more young people, mobilize them to benefit from government programs, because those are the roles of the council as it is. On the aspect of why then they demand for money directly, as I said earlier, the youth election is an electoral college, so it entirely depends on a one-on-one relationship with the person. Even when that person votes you, they are voting you on behalf of the many. So even when you assume office, you're not just going to serve the person in the electoral college that voted you. You have the mandate to serve all those even outside the structure.
So where's the pressure to change the mindset of the voter?
Yes. So the pressure, the end goal should be changing the mindset of the voter, saying, yes, you are here to vote me, but on behalf of the many youth that you left at the village level. So do not expect my service delivery to you to be direct from me to you, the voter of Electoral College. But my service delivery will be focusing on everyone else that is outside of the structure, even though you are the one that voted for me. So that should be the end goal. And that is what every youth member of Parliament will do. Once you get to office, now your focus changes from just the electoral college.
Is that to say then that the civic education gap is wider than we imagine?
Yes, there is that gap, but I believe with effort, with concerted effort, and with the monies that the government is putting in the council, that education should be able to get out to every. Where
does this education start from your lived experience through the youth leadership?
Of course, it should start from as far as education level, and it goes up high because...
By education, you mean the ordinary school
secondary,
education system?
Yeah, of course, there is a very big gap now, and we were just discussing here before, political education is lacking in this country. I think we shall be interrogating it so much in this parliament as we discuss transitional politics. But to not keep on the peripheries, Uganda is a model country in terms of shaping young leaders. If you can take note, in the council alone that we occupy, there are many of them that have transitioned from just members of this council, leaders, are now in parliament, and now are ministers. You will take note of Honorable Minister Billion, Honorable Nyamtoro, and many others. Even this recently exiting council, there are many leaders that have transitioned from just youth politics to now being mainstream politicians, I being an example. So there is enough room for training of young leaders in Uganda and preparing them for transition, preparing for future leadership.
Speaking of preparations, Deborah, you have talked about the gaps that do exist within the structure from down up in order to foster the transition that we have to see, which is inevitable. But then what are also the opportunities to facilitate a better leader as well as a better voter?
Come again?
What are the opportunities that do exist for having a better leader and a better voter?
Okay, I'll use them as examples. The chairperson, their finance, and the female. You're asking for the opportunities for them being better leaders. Most of them, when I was going to meet them, I found them in different trainings. I want to assume that is one of, they benefit from those. And if they actually do benefit, I don't know why they kept raising the question of 28th is our last day in office. I know that for sure. So we must use this chance as much as possible to get whatever we need. And I tried to resonate with them, not to blame them, for the fact that as a chairperson, my role is not to cast a vote. And I stopped there. And most of them, I will use Chigezi as a sub-region. There was a time they were saying, we want recognition. You cannot get recognition if you're not out there working as the best leader there. And the question stands, are we supporting them to be the leaders in their respective places? Are we doing the follow-up and the accountability for those leaders we put there? Okay.
On that note, I know that Edson, you want to give a response to that, but I also want to understand, in as much as you've said that as a country, we're a good model system for, bringing youth leadership into and allowing it to emerge over and above, where does the system fail the young person?
Well, I have not seen in any way the system failing a young person, especially if they are focused and they want to really progress in terms of leadership. What you are given is enough opportunity, and it is up to you to sprout out of the various opportunities. What you can appreciate is, my sister here, Deborah, recognizes that in the avenues, there are many training sessions that go and take place, all that giving young people a chance to sprout and take leadership. But what really fails the young people is ourselves, not remaining focused, not understanding and breaking down these very fundamental issues. For example, I see waves, many young people being swept in form of waves and not understanding really the fundamentals. For example, you see the theme for this election was protecting the gains. As a young person, you must be able to break down and say, what kind of gains are we protecting? And what should be my position? For example, I associate and strongly support the Patriotic League of those, the young people, the people who believe that Uganda should be protected by those who are patriotic enough. So what is my position? My position is I cannot support any person who threatens the state. I believe that Uganda's state is one of the youngest states, just 40 years old. since 1986, because most of it was demolished by 1986. So if it's a young state, we must consolidate it, make it stronger.
So when you say threaten the state,
Yes.
is that to say that a person who differs in ideology from you is threatening the state?
You see, most of our opposition players and those that seek to attract young people, their effort is concentrated on saying we must build a new Uganda. No, what we are saying is we should consolidate on what has already been achieved and move forward with it.
So how do you expect moving forward, and this is where really the transition is being mad, how do you expect transition if you are not even okay with the fact that another person can be of a different ideology and rather find how to merge those ideologies in order to continue with our country?
You see, elected people are faces of the state. Those are just faces. They can change. You can change and have another person. You can have another president tomorrow who is not President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. You can have another president. You can those can change. The faces can change. But when you have a politician somewhere believing that we must build a new Uganda, dismantle everything that is available now and start afresh, I will never appear to support such a person. Why? Because I know this state that is young as 40 years has taken a lot of sacrifice. A lot of sacrifice. There are very many young people, there are very many old people, senior officers of the state that you'll never see on this TV, very intelligent, very law-abiding, that have sacrificed their youthful age to build this country.
On that note, one who differs in idea is seated with us on table here, Deborah. In terms of preparedness to inherit democratic processes, are young people being adequately prepared? Has Honorable Edson here prepared the next leader of youth leadership? Has he meted them or prepared them in such a way that they can actually uptake the system and the democratic processes before them?
That's a very, very interesting question. I think themselves who are supposed to prepare are not ready to accept the paper. Are not ready to accept that actual one, the transition. They want to be there. Because I'll give, he mentioned something about the new Uganda, and I feel like we are just scared of that beautiful new Uganda. It doesn't come with destruction. We want to see the transition of different things, the institutions, the systems, the regime, peacefully. And I want to give an example that happened in the US. It's called the Martha Michelle effect. That lady always came out and talked about the bad things that the state was doing. She was looked as a delusional at that time, and I think that's how they are looking at us, delusional, like the new Uganda is not possible. Or it's like you're viewing it as distraction, but I don't think so. And it's the problem. Okay, the good thing at the end of that effect is you look at it as it's delusional now, but at a later time, the people actually appreciate that, oh, all along she was saying the truth. It is seen at a later time. The new Uganda will be seen at a later time, because right now we are not appreciating. They are saying it's delusional. Okay.
On that note, Edson, you are moving from the youth structures now into the mainstream politics and leadership. That's another transition that we also want to look into as we are bending towards the end of this discussion. Has the older generation prepared you to take on that mandate?
Well, just to conclude with what
the ideologies will not be debated here today, unfortunately. Yeah, this is not the table for it today.
We may not end it, but just to say, our role here and the Fourth Estate is to continuously advocate for a better Uganda. And that means where we find challenges, ours is to prop leaders, to prop the government, to advocate, to push and make sure they are responsive enough to solve those challenges. And that should be fundamentally our role, and not dismantling Now, in terms of preparation, I think for me it's been a great opportunity to have gone through step by step, to have avenues to learn from the seniors, to understand their purpose. Why are we here today, and why did they start what they started way back? So I can really say it's a great opportunity for me to have progressed slowly by slowly, understood and understood the aim. If we are as young as 40 years, I would want to be here when the state of Uganda is 8 years old. New ideas have come and been built on what was there. You see, I can best explain this in the engineering perspective. Right now, technology provides that if you have a house, a good residential house, and it's been shaken by an earthquake. Once what you do, you don't demolish that house. What you do what we call underpinning. Go underground, put more technology down there, prop that house. It stands firmly. Okay. That is what should be the role of us young people, making sure we underpin our gains, we consolidate them, and build a better Uganda. Okay,
let me have closing remarks from Deborah in regards to the picture of the future of our transition into, the other leadership, the young leadership.
The young leadership, the future of transition. One thing I'm going to ask those young people is to interest themselves into learning, read, because if you learn, you realize that opposition is never a bad thing. It's actually, I think it was an idea of the government to have an opposition, because without opposition, we see things not moving on so well, because we help to check not against, for the good. And how I wish the Western Uganda appreciates opposition in a good way. Okay. Until then, we are not going to see us thriving, because, and the second thing, apart from appreciating opposition, is how I wish they're educated onto how they, okay, I think this is going, not only them, generally, to learn to listen to ideas, and then they vote, they choose the person they actually believe in, and then we also support them. Yeah. So,
all right, so we're still assessing the transition, but also the transition is still continuing. It's only your closing remark in 30 seconds.
Thank you so much to our viewers, to the young people out there. I think this should be a wake-up call. We are done with the 2026 election, but there lies a journey ahead of us. On that journey, you can still influence what you think government does. They did a wonderful job through the 11th Parliament. I saw most of the topics being generated from what we saw on social media. The young people of today have even a greater avenue to influence government policies than ever before. Okay. So I would say to the young people, we look at many countries and admire them, but it is our duty as young people to build that Uganda that we want. And how do we build it? Is by influencing the policies. And how do we influence that? Through advocacy.
Thank you so much, Honorable Edson Rugomayo, MP-elect in Toroko, and then Deborah Owesika for your submissions on this table and this subject matter. The question is not whether young people are ready to lead, because guess what? They already are. The question is that whether institutions or culture or government systems are ready to let go and allow reform and evolution of our leadership as a country. Brings us to the end of this discussion. I am Priscilla Regina Naloga. More discussions coming up. Don't go away.